Hi! Welcome to this new series that may or may not actually have more than one episode depending on my mental health and motivation, in which I talk about my stupid Countryhumans headcanons. If you don't know what headcanons are, basically, canon generally means things considered to be officially true in whatever world the fandom is talking about. And a headcanon is an idea that you have about the thing that isn't explicitly canon, but you still like the idea, so you kind of keep it stored up there. And Countryhumans basically has no real canon, so I get free reign here. This is great. I'll try to do more of these, and I know I will definitely make videos about Russia, China, the UK, and France after this, and then when I'm done with those, I'll probably put up a poll or something to let you guys decide what I do next. Of course, these are accompanied by speed paints of references for the countries in question because, number one, I need references so I don't use the wrong colors over and over again in my animations, and I also don't want to subject you to my obnoxious rambling for several minutes on end without any mildly interesting visuals. I'm actually really not happy with how this drawing turned out, and I'll probably redo it, but I'm tired, so this is sufficient enough. Anyways, if you excuse my awkwardness, I'm going to start speaking words that hopefully convey something to you. So, America. You may love him, you may hate him, but he has quite the personality. If I could use one word to describe my interpretation of him, it would be loud. A lot of countries find him obnoxious as he likes to be the center of attention and can be pretty nosy. However, he usually means well when it comes to his actions. He can be very reckless and impulsive with his decisions and often just gets himself into messes that he doesn't realize he can't handle until it's too late. He's kind of a dumbass, and he almost unintentionally comes off as an idiot. He values decisiveness over logic when it comes to certain things, if that makes sense, but his heart is usually in the right place. However, he isn't perfect by any means. He has flaws, just like a normal human being without a flag for a face and an arsenal of nukes. Humans are selfish by nature, and sometimes America isn't necessarily the best at containing that. Some of this stems from his upbringing. His father, the United Kingdom, was a bit of a jackass during the days of British colonialism. A bit of a jackass might be an understatement, actually, but either way, when it came to America in particular, the UK was a decent-ish father, but he was quite arrogant and a little bit too prideful, which definitely rubbed off onto America in his immaturity. Ironically, this inheritance of personality would ultimately lead to the American Revolutionary War in 1776. At the beginning, he didn't necessarily intend to turn it into a full-blown revolution or anything, but everything just kind of snowballed, and his little act of defiance turned into a war for independence. Once his mother France got on board with the war, everything turned in his favor, and by some miracle, he actually won. Continued life pretty much as normal, with a few wars here and there accompanied by racist policies, like kicking the Indians out and all that, like a jerk. Anyways, tensions between the North and South started to rise as the issue of slavery became more controversial until it basically culminated in the American Civil War in, I think it was 1861. What can happen, in my headcanon, when a country has a civil war is that they are basically split into two entities. Nobody knows how this works, and I don't care enough to spend hours coming up with a feasible explanation. The split, as we'll call it, separated him into two people, the Union and the Confederacy. Typically, countries that are split are considered siblings, and that applied to this as well. So, the Union and the Confederacy are brothers, they're trying to kick each other's asses, and everything is a dumpster fire. Different states join different sides, and it's a mess. Anyways, the Union wins, of course, and he kills his brother. The murder of siblings is something we're going to see frequently in this whole thing. He does partially regret it, as despite the whole war thing, they were brothers, and he was essentially killing a part of himself, if that makes any sense. Either way, he readmitted Confederacy states into the Union, and they didn't really face any consequences. By the way, the states are kind of considered his children. I'm not really sure how this all works, but let's ignore the lack of world building and continue on. He continued existing, and his industry skyrocketed. At this point, he was beginning to rise to power, and he was pretty proud of this. World War I rolls around, and he doesn't get involved until shit hits the fan and the German Empire tries to make friends with Mexico. The war was never really personal for America. It was really more of a display of strength and a kind of, frick you, this is what happens when you mess with me kind of thing. The Allies win, and everything's great, yet America opts not to join the League of Nations at the end of it all, which does become problematic. The Red Scare happens as the Soviet Union starts existing, and America immediately hates him without really even having met him. And judging by Soviets' future atrocities, his hatred was definitely validated. Then comes the Great Depression and everything goes to hell. He messes up a lot trying to tackle the problem, and it was just not a fun time. While all this was happening, some certain problem children started to take an interest in complete and total world domination. When World War II starts, the UK and France go to him and ask for his assistance, but he refuses to get involved, which, I mean, it's his decision. He, along with everyone else, never thought it would go as far as it did, and if he had known at the time, he may have done more than provide his parents with artillery and moral support. Then, Imperial Japan decides to bomb Pearl Harbor, and America is pissed. His attitude towards the Second World War contrasts majorly with the first, as he was personally threatened and directly attacked, if that makes any sense. He quickly gets involved with the European theater as well, and in this comes into contact with a certain communist jerk. He had his preconceived opinion of the Soviet Union and all, but they did start to kind of get along during the war. China was also initiated into this trio of friendship accompanied by mild hatred. Things did get tense between the three of them at times, but at the end of the day, they were real friends and they did stick up for each other. Of course, this would all change. Once the war in Europe ended, he had to turn his focus to a particular problem in the Pacific. Ooh, alliteration, I didn't intend that. Alright, well, anyways, he tried his best to get Imperial Japan to surrender, but at this point she had lost all sanity. If she had any to begin with, I mean, that's debatable. He didn't want to do what he thought he had to do in the end, and he struggled with the guilt for a long time afterwards. But anyways, after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he took his enemy's child, Japan, under his wing, as Imperial Japan had been killed in the event. Japan sees him as a kind of father figure, but he's also more like the cool uncle who lets you have an extra scoop of ice cream. However, while he gained one friend at the end of the war, he lost another. The Soviet Union was pissed at him after the atomic bombs, which partly stems from a sense of paranoia that I'll get into if I do a video on him. I have a lot of headcanons for the Soviet Union. But the main point is that he gets pissed at him for basically no reason and cuts ties with him. In a fit of rage, basically. He's not very mentally stable. America's upset by this, because, I mean, it's never fun to lose a friend, but this didn't ever really deter their rivalry. He, the UK, and France take a kind of parental responsibility over West Germany, while East is tossed at a very angry Soviet Union. America saw Soviets' treatment of East and the other Eastern Bloc states, and this kind of drove the divide between the two of them even more. And you guys know the history of the Cold War. I don't really think I have to explain it, but let's just say that by the end of it, he was very tired, as was the Soviet Union. After the reunification of Germany and the liberation of the Eastern Bloc, they were, for the most part, able to bring that to a close, and for the last few years, they reestablished their friendship. This is like the wholesome period of the 20th century. Anyways, the Soviet Union collapses, and America has some mixed feelings. He is kind of relieved, but at the same time they were beginning to improve relations and all, but it shouldn't be said that he was very grief-stricken by this. Overall, the whole experience kind of mellowed him out a little, and there isn't very much more to his, for lack of better words, character arc. I'm not getting into anything else because that would mean talking about recent politics, and I'd prefer not to start a civil war in the comments section. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about flags with feelings. That's about it for this video. I'm gonna go eat raw cookie dough.